repetition, life for life will be the same. I'm the sea before you burn me. I'm the stranger who deserts you, only to love you in another life. There will be no more isolation in our secret separation.
It's not for public, is it?
Well, this is for you
Okay.
and for the Extinctionati.
All right.
And I would expect it would be something you could add to your collection. So
Yeah.
at some point, I assume this is going to go public, but it's not intended for that.
Okay.
This is really just, I just wanted to check in with you, Sophie, after all this time. It's been, quite a while since, Ian passed away.
Been a year and 5 months.
Right. And I'm counting down the days too. I think of him every day. He's in my thoughts at least once a day. Quite a few songs I listen to remind me of him as well. But I just wanted to touch base with you more than anything else. Just kind of check in, see how you're doing, the Extinctionati's doing. I sent you that email and you mentioned you had some questions for me. Are these glasses a little dorky? Let's get rid of the glasses.
I know, that's the same with me.
Let me fix this up. So okay, there we go. So there's no real motive behind it other than that, but I wanted to talk with you, and then it could be something you could share with the rest of the group because they had questions. So, just to start, I just want to know how you're doing.
We could start with the questions if you like. I could, or whatever you want.
I was hoping you and I could just kind of check in first, just to kind of ground ourselves. I don't know where you're at, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I don't really follow the group that closely. I sort of skim your emails. I look at some of the clips of your interviews, but I just want to know how you're doing.
Well, we're doing fine. We had a little change in February, because there was a member in the group that wasn't really was starting to get, but that always happens in a group. So we became a bit more private. So we're not sharing the meetings on Reddit anymore, but we have a YouTube channel for that, and I think you get the links because you're on the email.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Me personally, I'm not too bad. The same old. I'm getting older. The garden and some family problems. But spiritually, it's a strange path with some wonderful moments of grace and some other. It's not. It would be a little bit too long, but to summarize. I'm quite grateful, to be where I am with the people I'm with, and I'm a recluse anyway. So, but most of my interactions are with Extinctionati, Gary, the gang, and only a few neighbors around here because I live in a very isolated place, so there's not many people,
So do you feel isolated?
Oh no, because I got a dog, I've got a cat, I'm surrounded with birds. There's wildlife everywhere. Plants, sea, animals. So no. Oh, I don't actually. It's when there's too many people. I feel that I'm overwhelmed. So that's the way.
That's
and
great.
What about you?
I'm in a great place right now. I've got a really great job. I work remote. Family's doing good. My health is doing great. I can't complain at all. I'm living in the same place as before, still living in the city. So I don't get a lot of nature. We do have a lake at the end of my street, but that's it's more like a golf course pond than it is an actual lake. It's man-made, So no, I'm in a really good place. I had to ask you a question. Do you feel any kind of a connection to Ian still? Do you feel his presence ever? Are you having dreams about him, or do you feel like he's faded away?
But, like he said, he's gone back to the Atman. The Atman is all around us. We're in it. It's part of us. Of course I do. And a lot of people in the group. Now, actually, at the moment, we are thinking we'd like to try to get his, I don't know if you remember after he died, but we mentioned that he had started a book. He had put a few little things for us to read on Reddit or on emails, and being that his belongings were scattered a bit, we're going to try to see if the family, now that we know we've left a decent time for grieving pass, and to contact them again to see if there's any hard disk or anything like that, laptop, that we could just try to salvage something of his work, because we value so much the genius in him and all the work he put into all the things. So that's one, we're at that at the moment. We haven't done it yet. We're talking about it, and it's going to happen in the next few weeks, I'd say.
That's fantastic. There's going to be some real treasure trove stuff on his laptop.
If we can, because his laptop went in the water and it was fished out quite fast. So, you know, there's no guarantee. But normally, if somebody is quite technically good, you'd be able to get it back.
How did his laptop end up in
Oh,
the water?
it just at one stage, a few days before he passed away, he threw a tantrum, I'd say, and just, you know, mobile didn't, and it was fished out straight away. So that's how it happened. But you know, that's all. So we'll see what we can get. We'll see if the family. Tell me, have you ever met his family?
I haven't. He talked to me personally quite a bit about his son that was in Hong Kong. He told me a lot about his wife and his divorce. He also has a daughter, but he hardly ever.
Yeah,
talked about
Sonia.
her.
No, because we have the emails of Richard and Sonia, and we didn't know how to approach Nazali, his wife, because is it long ago since they divorced? Do you recall that?
Oh, well, he got divorced before he got the boat. So,
and he got the boat route around 2016, was it?
Yeah, he got the boat, and he spent, I think, over a year with his son just doing the No Escape series. His son was the one that was holding the camera and doing all the camera work. And he collaborated with his son. His son was his right-hand man.
He looks so much like him. He looks so much like him.
You know what?
Okay, so Richard would know, because he did the No Escape with Richard. Okay, so that's good.
He did. He was intimately involved in all of that, and then his son had to go. So
yeah, of course.
So yeah, his son really kind of. And then when he went to Hong Kong, I know that Ian and he were communicating quite a bit, and Ian was giving him advice, but also Ian was learning a lot about what was going on there. So what's his son's name? Mike?
Richard.
Oh, Richard. Yeah, Richard. Yeah, if you guys ever get a hold of him, I would love to have a personal conversation with him and let him know how awesome his father was.
Yeah, I know that's what we'd like to do. We you know, I didn't realize that he was holding the camera.
Yeah, he did the camera work for that. Yeah.
But do you remember, was it long before that he divorced, or was it just
he never gave me a date. It was a nasty divorce, even though he tried to avoid a nasty divorce. He did everything he could to avoid lawyers. She wanted the divorce, and yeah, it's once the lawyers got involved, it was really the lawyers getting divorced, not them.
Oh, it's always like that.
It was absolutely horrible. And so he just gave her everything, the house, the money. He took a little chunk, bought the boat, and went to Greece. And so it was after that. And my understanding is that's when his son was with him. So 26.
So maybe it's not a good idea that we contact the ex-wife, but we better contact the children, because if it was a nasty divorce, we don't know where we're putting our.
I wouldn't talk to her. I wouldn't. It would be disturbing for her, and you wouldn't get much out of it, I don't think. I would just talk to Richard first.
He probably doesn't know anything about the Hugh that we know.
Probably not. They probably had a father-son relationship, but he's got it in his DNA. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's got to be a very, very special individual.
When did you meet him? Did you meet him in person, or did you only meet him online?
Oh, Ian?
Yeah.
No, I only met him online. You know how I found him? I was just on YouTube trying to, how I got all started in this, just so everybody knows, is I was at the dinner table with my two daughters. One's like, I think graduated senior in high school. The other one is starting college. And we're talking at dinner, and they said, we don't want to have children. We want to get married, but we don't want to have kids. I said, why not? I mean, it shocked me that they wanted, because, I raised them to want to have a family, and be mothers. That's what they wanted. And then they don't want to be mothers. I'm not going to be a grandfather. It was kind of weird. And they said it was because of climate change, what they'd heard. And they were freaked out by it. This is back in late 2017, 2018. So that's when I started down this path. And I just started going online because I said, don't worry, guys, there's not a lot to this. Let me look into it. I'll calm you guys down. So I was just scrambling, trying to get some data to convince them that they could probably have children sometime in the 2020s, right?
Mm.
And it got pretty scary pretty fast.
Yeah.
I found Guy McPherson, is that his name?
Mm.
And his stuff, and did everything I could.
He's not.
debunk it.
He's really the worst.
Well, exactly. And that's where you land on, and
Excuse me, I'm just grabbing a mug. I'm listening to you.
okay, I'll keep talking.
No.
So
Go
I
on.
found Guy McPherson, and that kind of freaked me out. I did everything I could to debunk him. I did find a document that debunked him, but then I debunked that, and so things got a little wild.
Yeah, he freaked me out as well when I heard it.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the cold water I got first. And it was sort of baptism by fire, literally, as we're seeing now with all the heat. And he was off in his estimates. He was saying we got 1 or 2 years. What he really meant was we have 1 or 2 years to really prevent the worst. But during that journey, I did a lot of research, looked at the old IPCCs, went back in history, did all that diligence. And then just one day I found one of his No Escape videos on YouTube, a recommended video on the side.
Yeah, a lot of people, it's like the algorithm recognized people and he interviewed Guy McPherson. So it was kind of,
exactly. And I just binge watched all of them. I put my headphones on. It was a Saturday morning and I just listened to all of them, did the barbecue grill, mowed the lawn. And, like 95% of what he was saying, I already knew was true because I'd only been on my own journey for the last 15 years doing very similar to his, very, very similar to his. And then I hit a wall when I hit he had just done this. I think it was in March of 2018, 2019. He hit, I hit his video where he does the Extinctionati No Escape break. There's an episode with the blue shirt.
Yeah, when he realized.
When he just says, listen, this is really an ARG. This is just an elaborate alternate reality game to try to get people to wake up. And he explains exactly what he's doing. And he says, it's too late.
Yeah.
And he says, I really thought that but now it's too late.
Yeah.
And he's just basically gave up. I immediately emailed him and said, can we talk? And I got him on the phone within like a half an hour. He gave me his cell number and I called him and I said, you can't give up. And he goes, no. I said, listen, no one knows the future. You cannot say for absolute certainty that there's no hope, that, and he said, no, there's no escape. I said, but you don't know that. You don't stop doing what you're doing. And so I suggested he pivot. I said, you can't do this alone. You've got to, let's try to hijack XR, Extinction Rebellion. So they were really small. I said, just get a hold of Roger Hallam and or Gail, right? Brad Book, and talk to them. And then he very quickly, I said, well, if you want to do this, you can't, it was that whole discussion that we've had about how does one guy change the world, right? How does one guy do that? Because that's what he wanted to do. And he told me something that I've always remembered. I keep reminding myself of. You told me, he said, Dean, if just one person could tell the world their full story of their life, anybody, anywhere in the world, if they could actually tell their full story to everybody, it would change everybody. Because it's the human condition, right? We only share little bits and pieces of it. But if somebody actually tells their life story of what it's like to be born on this planet right now, and everyone heard it, it could change the world. So I said, okay, so what do we, I said, I want to help you. What are we going to do? And he said, debt strike. Well, he first said derivatives market.
I remember that very well.
And I said, listen, you can't do this alone. Let's talk to Extinction Rebellion. So I tried as hard as I could to get her, Roger and Gail, and their handlers wouldn't let it. I tried all kinds of tricks to get email, and it just didn't happen. So I said, well, we just have to get on the Extinction Rebellion forum on Reddit and, forget the leaders. Let's just try to get, followers that are in the UK and get them on board. So he started doing that. So I don't know how much of that's still on the internet, but.
Well, he started to do XRMed.
Well, okay. The reason why he did XRMed was because we were actually making some progress with the Extinction Rebellion group on Reddit. we were saying this is what they need. They're doing actions, and we were like making commentary, and I was posting videos of what they were doing, and we were basically just like saying, hey guys, think outside the box a little bit more.
Mhm.
And the group only had one moderator, and he
Oh,
had
yeah,
and he had nothing to do with Extinction Rebellion. He wasn't even a member,
Mhm.
and he banned Hugh,
I remember.
and he
Yes.
silent banned me, and so that's why we created XR Med. That was the same time we did. Well, I keep saying we, but because it's, we have these discussions where I'm like poking him and saying, what are you going to do? How is this going to work? We sort of like evolved it. And then he wrote this incredible document for the debt strike.
Mhm.
In fact, his first video where he talked about there's one of his videos where I sat down and spent 3 hours and actually transcribed the whole thing.
Have you
And
got that still? Got that
I do. And I sent it to him.
Would you mind sending, emailing it?
I will send you everything I have.
Yeah,
How about
thank you,
that?
because
I'll just,
I don't think I've read that one.
okay, yeah. It's just the transcript of one of the videos. It was the one where he talks
Okay.
about China and the coal plants.
Oh, yeah, the one with, yeah, okay, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
quite a long one. All
So
right.
I went through, because it wasn't closed captioned on YouTube. I had to manually do it. And I
Mm.
sent it to him and I said, listen, clean this up, edit it up, and then let's do everything we can through Reddit to get it to XR leadership. And let's go after the XRs in different countries, because they were starting to form these little extinction rebellions around the world. And I
Yeah.
said, listen, Hugh, those guys are very vulnerable to influence, right? So I said, let's do a video. Let's make sure we have the Extinction Rebellion font and the color. Our podcasts have the Extinction Rebellion color and font and logo.
Yes, 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 I
I
remember.
said, let's try to trick the Extinction Rebellion leaders in other countries. We gave up on the UK after Mr. Broccoli. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
The Extinction Rebellion put Mr.
That was-
Broccoli on the
when it
morning
started
show
completely,
to
yeah,
represent the movement,
I know,
and he made an ass of himself.
I remember.
And after that, we said, if they're going to put Mr. Broccoli up, and they were jumping on the trains and the metro and all that stupid blocking the roads.
But I was already
stupid.
interacting with him then.
Okay. So that's, yeah. Okay. So so we pivoted again away from the UK. We tried to influence. We did get some traction with a couple of countries in Africa, Latin America,
Really?
I believe.
Mm.
Oh yeah. He was doing. I'm his PR guy. I'm not. He's the one making all the decisions and influencing people. He's the one doing the videos, not me, right? Until we did the podcast together. So yeah, that's how I got introduced to all this. I was just trying to help him, get things done. I'll tell you my one regret.
That's the reminder on my phone, you see, for the call to you, because I
Yeah.
thought it was, I must stop it now, because I thought it was later. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the one regret I have about all this is that I actually didn't read the book until just
Yeah.
recently. I
All
read
right.
I read a couple of chapters while he was alive, and I just didn't get through it. And I've read it now, and I'm absolutely convinced that was some kind of work of precognition on
Mhm.
his part. I was involved with him writing it. I can tell you that origin story if you're interested.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There was a point in our relationship where I was talking to him like twice a day for a couple hours. I had a commute. I would call him as soon as I got out in my car in the garage, and I would talk to him all the way to work. And then at lunchtime, I would call him. So and one day he just said, I'm going to write a book. I think this was in November. It was in November. He said, I'm going to write a book. It's all come to me. I see the whole thing. It hit me like a bolt of lightning. I said, that's great. It could be precognitive. Just sit down and just type it out. And he said, well, I've already written the first chapter. He said, I did it last night. And what he told me was that he said the characters at the beginning of the book are all real.
Mm-hmm.
That there was a George in the bar in the town. Everything he describes about that town, including the people.
Yeah.
What happened is he went to the tavern or whatever it is, and he sat there and he was watching them. And he said he was just sitting there drinking a little bit of wine, and it hit him, the whole thing. So that first part was part of a conversation he actually was having with people there.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote that in like 2 or 3 weeks. I was pushing him to get it done by the end of December. I said, you've got to get this done by the end of the year. You got to realize
That was
my-
December 19 because
yes, 2019. Yes,
it was just before the COVID madness.
he published, it got on Amazon like December 31st or January 1st.
That's right. That's
And
right.
I bought the very first hardback copy off of
Did
the
you?
internet. I got a first
Okay.
edition.
Because I got it in January.
Okay,
I got it in January, and I remember sending him pictures of me holding the book.
I did the same
here.
thing. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
the other thing is he was wanting to slow down and clean. I said, don't edit it now. This is free writing. If you want anything
I think it's
precognitive,
Gary did a lot of
right.
editing.
So I told him, I said, don't even touch a word you write. Just write the whole thing. Don't look back. Let it flow. That's how inspiration works. When you get it done, then have somebody else edit it. And I wasn't ready to do that. So Gary got involved in that.
Yeah, because Gary corrected it, and actually he was dreaming that he could get back the original manuscript of all the corrections that he had done, because Hugh had kept it, but he asked Hugh's sister, and he didn't find it on the boat, so it was probably lost with other things.
Or it's on the hard drive, right?
No, but he was talking about the handwritten editing notes that Gary did a total
by hand.
By hand.
Oh, I thought it was like on a keyboard.
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he was really hoping that he could get that back. But listen,
Wow.
you know, we never know. We never know.
Let me ask you this. Right now, it's on. The only way to get it is to go to Amazon on Kindle.
Actually, you can't buy it anymore because the account seems to be closed.
Well, that's what I was afraid of. That was what I was afraid of. So can we just flood the earth with that book now? Can we just flood the earth? Can I get a PDF that I can flood the earth with?
I have a PDF.
Okay. If you can send me that PDF, I will do what I can to try to flood the earth with that book now. Its time is ripe. You know, Ian used to say the greatest thing. The greatest thing Ian ever learned, he said, from Shakespeare was the line, "The ripeness is all."
Yeah.
Right. And so you got to look for the ripeness in life. And I really do feel like after COVID and everything, that there's a lot in that book that is absolutely for our time right now.
If you want to do a thing like that, I think it would be a good idea to come on to one of our meetings very soon, and we could all, you know, discuss that, because everybody would be extremely interested, because we're going back on his old works, and I've actually shared that PDF with a few members of the group already, because some people hadn't got a chance of reading the book.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if you have a chance, I don't know, is it a good time for you though when we have our meetings, because you might be busy, but it's on Sunday, and it's usually your time would be around lunchtime, you see.
Okay.
Because it's you see it anyway on the email, because, you know, if you wanted, even if you could appear for a short while, but if it was to just, that topic of the book could be very interesting to discuss with the whole group, do you know?
I would absolutely love to do that. You know, Hugh's vision of what you guys are doing was, more than anything, crowdsourcing, right? It was to get all of your input on it and work together to figure out how to get the word out. That's one thing I've noticed. You guys have sort of kind of gone underground because of legitimate reasons, right? People have,
we wanted to protect ourselves from a kind of personality that was starting
absolutely.
to get, yeah,
absolutely. I totally understand that, but I think that, again, I think Stinctionati may need to want to pivot to a more active role where you guys are maybe doing some social media, you know, get Twitter accounts and just share your feelings. There's, you know, just, I hate Twitter. I hate Elon X. I absolutely hate it. I hate it. It's a vile, vile place. But if you just are on there, you can turn everything off, turn all the filters off, and you just post stuff and you use hashtags. That's all you need to do. You don't even have to engage with anybody. There's no fights. You're just adding Ian's work, right? And your own experiences on there, your own, you know, things you find in the news, post them there. Just put your hashtags in there.
That's another thing that you might suggest if you
and let the algorithms
to the meeting, right? Because there's a few people in the group who are on Twitter. I'm personally not. And I think Gary isn't. Mike is not around at the moment because he's very busy with family. So I don't know, is he? But yeah, you could suggest that to people who are more into that sort of thing, you know?
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, because it's up to the algorithms at this point. It's all about that organic. We all found Ian through the organic stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
Our only chance really on something so horrific, a very good friend of mine calls Elon X, Twitter, the bathroom wall of the internet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But so
Joe,
you're just appealing
you.
to the algorithms. Listen, I've been on that horrific platform the last couple of months, and it's everyone's in psychosis. They've all disassociated so much from reality. I've posted some things. I even posted a map that's used by the wealthy to sell bunkers. It's that map that I showed to Ian and we have in the podcast of the Earth at 4C. I don't know if you've seen that. We talk about it in one of our podcasts. We showed on the screen. Someone made a map that shows the Earth at 4C heat, and
oh
much,
yeah.
That's used by the wealthy to sell bunkers, mostly in New Zealand. I post that on Twitter. It bounces right off. I can actually post directly on Roger Hallam's posts. He'll post something. I'm the first one, and I post something. Nothing. Not only ignorance from him, but also from anybody else that's on the thread. So don't expect to have anything kind of meaningful conversations or interactions with anybody. It's really just to let the algorithms. We've got to feed the algorithms at this point, and hope for serendipity of some kind or synchronicities. That's all we've got left at this point. But there's more Cassandras out there.
Yeah.
There are absolutely more Cassandras like us. And the curse of the Cassandra is no one listens to you, right? There's one way out of that, and it's what we've experienced. The only person that will listen to a Cassandra is another Cassandra.
Yeah.
And at this point, we need to unite as much as we can.
Well, we have I wouldn't call him a Cassandra, but we have a new person, a guest that has been at one of the meetings. That I don't know, have we shared that one? Because I don't know, did he want us to share it? I can't remember. You would have it because you're on the mailing list. Darren Stevenson from San Francisco, who's been doing videos on YouTube for about 10 years or more. Very quiet man, and he doesn't have a lot of followers or anything like that, But the very funny thing is that we discovered that he was the first, how do you call them? Not initiate or induced person in the game in the Jejune Institute.
Are you kidding?
He's the one who made the little creatures in the little park in San Francisco with the little caves.
Yeah.
And he is the one who has nearly, you could say, created the glyphs of the alien cortex, the alien code.
Yeah.
Because he was involved in that Carrot UFO drone thing in 2000 and I can't remember, 7, 8, 9, I can't remember, in San Francisco. And he, that object that had that funny code alien thing. Well, Hugh got it probably from there without knowing that, so there's a lot of synchronicities.
Oh, wow. And so he was the first follower.
Sorry?
Was he the first follower?
No, because we discovered that. I mean, I can't remember who. Somebody on the sub last year, last September, posted a video of Darren, like a nice video. He was talking. He was walking in a park and he was musing, and his talks were very much in line with what we think, and the right brain, the left brain, things like that, and spirituality, and the world we live in, the machine, etc. So little by little, myself, DB, and a few others in the group, we listened to him, and we decided this spring to invite him to a meeting because there was so much in common. And we received that email telling us that, because we explained to him about the ARG that we were trying to do, and then it didn't work, and the Jejune Institute. And we sent him the manifesto, not the manifesto, the 12 rules of the Extinctionati with the alien thing. And he got back to us and said, oh my God, I was, at the beginning of the game. He's actually interviewed in the film, The Institute. And he's participated in the creation of the alien code.
Wow. I need to talk to that guy. Definitely. I'll check into that. So
Darren
he's
Stevenson. If you look at the threads in the group emails, you'll find it. If you have time to dive in the, you know, you're on the mailing list. So when I send every week an invitation to the meeting, you should be. I'll just double check, but I think you're included on the mailing list.
I am. I get
And
everything.
so if you go back in time and you have a bit of patience going through the threads, you will find Darren Stevenson's reply with all the details
That's
and
awesome.
articles and stuff that he writes.
Wow. So he deciphered the extinctionati
Oh
principle.
no, he
that,
created it.
well, you know, I created the font, right? But what did
The font.
what did Ian say? We translated, right? What's the
Oh
translation?
yeah, I mean, in the 12 rules, was it?
Yeah, the 12 rules. One of them
Yeah,
was,
there was.
what did it say?
That
What?
was.
That's an
I'm
Easter
sorry,
egg for us. No, you realize that's
can't
an
even
Easter egg for
remember.
everybody.
I
That's
have
an-
it somewhere. I have it
Okay.
somewhere. Oh, I have it deciphered. I remember. I think it
that's-
was something about something about the end is nigh anyway, but something doomer. But
I want to see that.
I get it back to you. I have it in my office, and I must dig it out from a folder because I had it written down.
Okay.
I'll send you the alien translation. Yeah.
That would be great. The next question I had for you was, now that we've got some distance between us and him dying, passing away, when that all went down, I got little bits and pieces. You and I talked. I saw a little bit of email traffic, and you said that there were some other details that you didn't feel ready to share. What the hell went down? He was on the podcast with you guys.
Yeah, he was.
And he just dropped.
Branch, what's his name?
And yeah, he's in the middle of that podcast. Everything's fine. He just disappears. He drops. And that's the last time we see him, and he's dead 3 or 4 days later. So
no, he died a week after that.
Oh, okay.
He died at least a week after that because he was sighted alive 2 days before he was actually found dead. So,
but he cut you guys off.
Well, he didn't. I don't know, but he disappeared. Whatever happened at that time, was it a technical glitch or because he looked quite well that day, so I don't know. There was nothing that happening in the meeting that could explain that, so I don't know. We never know. We'll never know. All we found out afterwards is that he went kind of lula, angry, drinking, throwing things around, things like that. And we got quite worried, got people to go down, a taxi to go down to try to find him, to bring him food. We tried to phone around whoever we could. But the police wouldn't intervene straight away because he was on a boat and it was delicate and there was the COVID and so it's eventually the Coast Guards who found him on the day. Yeah, actually his sister was on her way because she was very worried, so she was on her way to Greece. So she arrived the day or the following day where they found him. So
yeah, and the autopsy said it was an aneurysm.
a massive embolism, a massive pulmonary embolism,
right?
A big clot probably in the lungs. But that's what they say.
Yeah, that's not a good way to go. But it doesn't match up with his behavior ahead of time. It's like he was drugged or something had happened to him. Something happened between him dropping off, probably because of a technical glitch. And probably when he supposedly had this aneurysm.
Yeah, and we have no information about that. That's all.
Something he met somebody. There was something else, because that just wasn't like him.
I know. There must have been something that we never know. It could have been between himself and himself. We don't. It could be also some signs that there was going to be a massive embolism and it was starting to affect him in his body and his brain. We don't know, because sometimes you can have warnings that something is happening and could explain his erratic behavior.
Yeah, I tend to think foul play. I really feel like that last, this sounds really silly, but you know, that last podcast that he and I did together, where he went after, you know, the Royal Crown in the UK. He said some other wild things that he actually edited out of that, but he was pushing the limit with that. He was, you know,
I know we all think that.
I think that got him killed. I really do. I think that podcast got him killed because it got him on people's radar. And then he had you know, he continued doing podcasts, but it was sort of like downhill from there in terms of his survivability. I think he was being monitored. Those last couple of podcasts with you guys where he was talking about UFOs, UAPs, and woo. He even mentioned me and Skinwalker Ranch in one of those videos.
Yeah,
and the whole time he's saying I'm going to get killed. Remember?
Yeah,
he kept saying I'm gonna keep talking until they kill me.
I know he was telling us that he could get just how did he say, the guy what's the name of that American guy who's been killed in prison at the time, who was quite famous. Anyway, McAfee, who was so-called Swiss. Yeah, he did actually post that he sent an email saying, if you guys don't hear about me, it means that I've been, you know. So
he always told me that. He said, I'm not gonna die anytime soon. There's no, and he was constantly saying it. So when it happened, I'm just going to assume that he was right. He didn't reach out. There was something. It was drugs.
It's a big question, but you know, it was so painful when he died that we didn't want to talk about this too much. Some people brought it up in the meetings and what happened, and we thought, oh Jesus, we have to deal with the loss and the grief, and it's not going to change anything because he's gone, you know. And that was more or less the attitude that we took at the time, and we just thought we're just torturing ourselves and the whole thing by trying to find out what happened. I mean, at the back of the mind of a lot of people in the group, there is the possibility of foul play, I'm sure. And myself, I haven't closed the door on that option at all.
Yeah, I'm pretty much convinced. We need to understand that he wasn't just talking to us individually and doing podcasts, right? He also had a very intense social network of his own. He was talking to people that are actively in the Pentagon.
Do you know any of them?
You know what? He never shared me any of his contacts, but it was terrifying sometimes what he would tell me who he was talking to. He had a lot of connect. Remember, he was a pilot, he was a CEO, he was a software engineer. He'd run his own companies, so he was very well connected as a CEO.
Yeah, we have all this. We kind of found out a bit about his past and company.
What is his last name? I only know him as Ian. What's his last name?
Kemsley.
How do you spell that?
Kemsley.
Kemsley.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I may have gotten an email once, but I never knew his last name really. Wow. So yeah, at one point I saw his LinkedIn profile. He had a LinkedIn profile. So I must have seen his last name, but it's gone now. But you know, he was actively talking to people in different countries, UK and United States.
And you have no
never
idea.
said a name, but he would tell me they know this and it would happen. You know, like military stuff. It was real. He wasn't making that stuff up. And so when he would talk about, you know, if they knew his connections or what he was saying, you know, at some point when you're talking on the internet, you know, with those keywords being analyzed by AI bots, they're gonna pick it up, the keywords, and it's going to be a problem. You're gonna get some surveillance. You know, after that last podcast that we did, he wanted me to actually set up an EMP bomb.
Yeah, I remember.
In downtown Salt Lake, and take out LDS Church headquarters. And I said, "There's no way I'm ever going to do that." I actually lost my shit, and I was swearing at him. I actually hung up on him. I said, "There's no fucking way I'm going to do that."
You had a bit of a falling out. Yeah.
Oh no, we've completely popped a tire. Well, we went off the road. We went off the rails. I just lost my shit. I said, "There's no fucking way I'm ever going to do anything like that. I'm not. No. That's just crazy. Taking life, EMP. No, absolutely not." I found out later why he did that, by the way.
But an EMP is not going to take life. An EMP.
Well, if you've got a pacemaker, And there's a lot of old guys in that building. Anyone with a pacemaker drops
Oh, yeah,
dead.
if you have a pacemaker, right? Yeah.
And
you want to
I'm
get
not gonna
pacemakers,
I'm
you
not
want
gonna
to
do
get them
anything.
out of the place. All right.
There's no fucking there's no, that what's the point? And it sort of came out of the blue. And the other thing is I didn't like the way he edited the that last podcast. He sort of put me in a false light and deleted some things that I had said and put some things, added some clips that make it look, he put me in a false light, and I yelled at him for that too. But I calmed down. By the time I got to work, I said, "Hey, let's talk." And he goes, "Okay, we'll talk tomorrow." And then he cut me off completely. He ghosted me completely. He would not reply to me. I texted him. And it broke my heart. I was crushed.
I think so.
We had a bromance going, and I was
Mhm.
absolutely devastated. I mean, it was like he died. So it was that bad. And he went about 5 days just completely ignoring me. And then he started posting on Reddit, and I started messaging him, and he just ignored me. And I would reply to his posts on Reddit, and he would ignore me. And it was like a total fuck you to me. I mean, totally. And I didn't talk to him again until that summer of 2020. And
Yeah, because he reestablished links, and he actually told us at one of the meetings we had maybe a few months before he died that he wanted to have you on board again. He told us, and he wanted to get you back. I think it was when he was starting to go into the woo and the ufology and the whole.
And he started talking about Skinwalker Ranch. Out of the blue, I found that it popped up on my YouTube feed.
Yeah, because he was mentioning that guy who owned it, Bigelow.
The Bigelow, and then the new guy. Yeah. But
yeah,
it popped up. I had no idea what you guys were doing. It popped up on YouTube.
I don't know why. Yeah, because
and I listened to it, and he's talking about me and Skinwalker Ranch, and I sent him a message. I said, "Hey, I'm not following what you're doing. I'm not a lurker, but I did find this one podcast. Please do not mention me. Don't mention Skinwalker Ranch anymore. Just stay away from that. Keep talking about your woo and your UAPs." I wanted to get back to what happened in 2020 because the COVID bullshit was out of control. I mean, that summer was just absolute insanity for me and for everybody else. But I felt bad, and I reached back out to him because I saw what he was doing. You know, he was active on XRMed, and now he created the Extinctionati group. And I talked to him, and I said, I just let him have it about ghosting me. I said, that was like the cruelest thing that anyone has ever done to me. And he had no reason. He had no answer for it. He was silent when I asked him why he did it. But I also confronted him about the EMP. I said, why the hell would you drop that on me the day after that podcast drops? That's what you, and he said, I never really intended for you to do it. He said, it's a psychological test when you've got a group that you challenge them to do something like crazy. And then if they try to do it, you stop them at the last second, but it kind of breaks them. And I said, you're never going to break me. I'm never going to drink anybody's Kool-Aid. I was a Mormon for a long time, and there's no way I'm going back to drinking anybody's Kool-Aid. So at least we made peace with that. So even if I had tried to do something like that, he would have said, don't do it. It was never his intention to actually do any harm. It was a head game for me because, some of that, Ian's got a little bit of a cult leader in, right?
Yeah.
He was in that cult in India all that time.
No, he was in a school that was a cult when he was in South Africa.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But it was like in India, some guru.
Well, it was inspired. Right? It was inspired by some. It was a mixture, but there was a lot of. Yes, you're absolutely right. There was a lot of Indian philosophy and Vedanta and different things in that school. So they meditated and learned Sanskrit and did a lot of stuff like that. But he wasn't in. Well, he visited India, but when he was young, it was in South Africa. He was in a boarding school called whatever.
Basically a cult. He got to the point. I don't know if he's told you guys this, but he had that woo experience with the doors that they were just tossing around each other, and then some of them really had enlightenment. Him and a couple other people, they realized that they'd actually achieved higher enlightenment than the guru had. And he pulled them in. He realized that. He pulled them in individually and said, okay, you've reached you've reached the peak. The only thing left to do for full transcendence is you have to take your own life. You need to assign all of your assets and money.
Yeah, that's when he said,
Transfer all your assets to me and kill yourself, and then you'll go to heaven. You'll have full transcendence. And he did the same thing. He said, "That's bullshit. I'm not going to drink your Kool-Aid." And him and a couple of other ones took off. So that's how
yeah,
he got out of that cult.
he didn't tell us that, but he explained that it was more about the philosophy of Plato that was developed to the point where he realized that he was in a death cult and that he left it. But
Right.
it's, yeah, but I think he approached this very wisely, and that he saw through that cult very, very well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so he was trying to create his own cult, but like without the bad side, if that's even possible.
While he was trying to use the dynamic of cult is useful for the aim that he had. Plus, as he said, when in these times, we're all going to end up in one kind of a cult or another, whether it's because remember I don't know if you remember his video where he was saying that everything is a cult, basically. The army, corporations.
Well, culture has the word cult in it.
Yeah.
It's culture.
So
is
he
cult.
said, well, we might as well, create a cult where, we are, but we know we are in it, and we use the cult dynamics for different aims than the death cults, So yeah, and it was kind of accepted tacitly by everybody, knowing that tongue-in-cheek, the guru, the cult leader was Lord Hugh, but we could still mess and laugh and
I loved calling Ian Lord Hugh. I thought that was the funniest thing. By the
Of
way,
course.
do you know where he got that?
No.
I'll tell you how he got Lord Hugh. He got the original idea from some book. There's a character in some book, English book out of the UK, that mentions Lord Hugh or a dumbass.
All right.
But George Clooney actually he did a little skit on one of the night shows. I think it's Jimmy Kimmel, and it was called "You Are a Dumbass." And it's George Clooney talks about this organization to try to get people to understand about climate change, right? And he has this toll-free number, and he says, donate your money, and it'll go towards trying to cure a dumbass of their stupidity. And it was "You Are a Dumbass."
Okay.
Which is kind of funny. So that, if not totally inspired, it maybe George Clooney was inspired by Lord Hugh. But yeah. So you had some questions for me.
Well, those were the questions a bit. I kind of asked you.
Oh.
How did you know him? How did you meet him? What did you know about him? I mean, the questions I had to ask you first were concerning Hugh. The other questions about, because I don't think I have anything. I'll just have a look, but I don't think if I have, I'll ask them by email. I don't think, no, you'd never met him in person. So, and you didn't know his work environment and all that. You didn't.
I would have loved to. He was trying to get me to go and visit him. He was asking me to do that. And at one point he did that video where he, it's like a tour. He says, "Come to my boat. Here's the rules." And it's,
oh yeah, I remember. Yes,
$7,000 a week or something like that. Well, because he was that's how he's sustaining himself. He would actually have people on his boat, and he would give them they would spend like a week on his boat with him. He had a lot of guests on his boat.
Because when
he did. He had a lot.
When I went there, it was COVID. It was finished because people.
Yeah. No, he every time he could, he would try to get people on his boat. And if you look at the video, because it's an invitation. He's trying to get more people.
And he shows the boat, and he shows all the things.
The dolphins.
To have a doomer, and not to use toilet paper, and
flush the toilet.
Yeah, I remember.
But it drove him crazy because they would.
But I was on his boat. I went to Greece. I was on his boat.
What was that like?
I only went for a few days. It was during the lockdown. I escaped with a van and my sister through Europe. We just slept in a van to get down to Greece by road, because we were not vaccinated. There was no vaccines at the time, and everything was closed. I brought him some food and some vegetables and some books and some wine and some things, because he was stuck in in a marina in Corfu. So, I spent 5 wonderful days talking, laughing, and being with the person I admired most at the time, and I was really welcomed, treated like a a guest. Really, myself and my sister, we met a few people around him, but we had a wonderful time. It was intense because it was the middle. It was that December 20 till January 21. It was the worst time. There was no vaccine yet, and there was heavy lockdowns in Europe, extremely strict things. So it was quite an adventure to go there. But I was happy to meet him in person, you see, because I'm a bit old-fashioned. And my age, I prefer the real stuff. I want to see people, in front of me and, get the physical feeling
Right.
of someone. Because I don't know, I've met a lot of people online and I haven't been disappointed. But with the involvement that we were getting with him, I thought, I want to see this guy. Is he for real? And he was totally for real, like totally himself. Like when I met him, it was the same, exact same. There's no difference online and in reality. There was no difference at all.
Wow. So you actually felt his presence. You were actually in his physical presence, which you don't
I
get.
stayed on his boat with my sister for a few nights.
So, it gives me
And we
chills
went
just
swimming together. We were cooking together. We drank together. We tell jokes together. We were silly with the people in the marina. So no, we just friends, having a good time. That's all we did. I was not going there to see the guru yet. I was not on my knees going, I'm not worthy.
I wish I would have had that experience. I just couldn't. There's no way I could have left my family. There's no way
No,
I
and
could
at that time you couldn't travel. Everything was
yeah, no,
closed.
I'm going to stay with my family no matter what. There's no way I could have gone. Even before COVID, there was no way I was going to go see him just because of my family. He at one point he wanted my wife and I to go, and maybe we could have gone together, but I'm getting chills thinking about the fact that you actually know what it's like to feel his physical presence, because that's more likely to connect you to him now. I mean, have you ever actually felt that same presence or that smell that he would maybe have since he's died?
Maybe I wasn't there long enough to be that. But yeah, the laughs, the presence, yeah, and the voice, the vibes that you get in his presence, certainly. And I think it might make me easier for me than other people in the group who haven't met him. For example, Gary, who was very close to him, and he didn't have the chance of having the real encounter. Who else in the group met him? Is there anybody else? I'm not sure. No, I don't think anybody else went to Greece. I don't know. I'm getting tired.
I've got a hard stop. I've got a hard
Yeah.
stop right now, unfortunately. I wish we could continue talking, but I've got a hard stop.
Well, listen, this was been very productive and interesting meetings. So thank you very much. And I'll follow up with the emails, with the PDF of the book, and I will send you also the translation of the little alien phrase. Yeah.
Okay.
And try to look up Darren. If you look at all the links in all the threads in the email, you will find his email where he explains what he's doing and how.
I will follow up on that. Just so you know, I think I mentioned in my email, I've got on my YouTube channel, I've got a playlist of all of our podcasts together.
Well, I tried to find it and I just couldn't find it. You put a link and it was only personal photos and stuff. You sent
I've got personal stuff on there, but yeah, I gave you the link to my channel.
Yeah, you did.
And you got to click on the playlist. No one clicks on the playlist. The other videos are for other things.
I think I did. Maybe I did.
If you click on playlist, there's one that says Hank and Hugh. It says No Escape. Hank and Hugh. Right. And so it's and I didn't upload them. I just used them from his channel. So when his channel, when his YouTube channel dies, that playlist is going to die.
No, because we have it on Mike's channel and we have it on Odyssey. And
Okay.
I have them all backed up to hard drive here.
Oh, great. That's so good. That I'm going to sleep better tonight.
So there's a lot of, no, his channel is not, I don't know about his YouTube channel. I don't know if Mike has any rights or any access to it. I don't know, but yeah, it
Okay.
could disappear.
So in addition to that, I also have his Darwin Was Wrong
Yeah,
series. I've also
Yeah,
got a playlist
brilliant.
on my YouTube channel for that. That to me is probably his most important legacy. And now I'm seeing in the news now people are saying we need a brand new Darwin theory of evolution for this century, for the 21st century. That was way ahead of its time as well. And everything I could find, it's actually accurate. So I've got to go now, but I'm going to send you a copy of this. Nothing
Okay.
we've said here, I think, is like top secret, is it?
No, not a bit.
Is it okay if I post this publicly?
No, wait a second, because we're talking about Hugh's identity,
But he's dead.
name and stuff like that, and his death, a few details, things like that. No, maybe keep it for the moment. Let's, you know what you can do? Because I don't want to be the one who's saying before, what you could do is, because you have a copy of it, why don't you send it to our email group, to our,
Okay.
to the list, and say, what do you think, guys? I've had a chat with Sophie. Do you think I can put this public or not? And everybody can then give, because I'm a bit, I'm an anarchist. I don't like to make decisions on my own when I belong to a group. I think everybody has to have a word in this,
Fair enough. Fair enough. I trust you guys. I really do.
Yeah.
You guys are carrying the torch. You've got the responsibility to, more than I do, to get the word out and to let people know. I just don't
Yeah.
want what he's done to fade in obscurity.
Exactly. And that's we even thought at one stage to start the ARG again. So there's still a lot
Well,
going.
you've got this ARG expert, right, from the Institute.
I know, but he's not. How do you say that? No, he actually fell out with Jeff Hull. But yeah, he's certainly an expert and an extremely intelligent man.
Wow.
And he's actually approaching activism in a very similar way to Hugh. So listen, you have to go.
I
we
do. I
can
got a hard stop.
We can have
Sorry.
a conversation again at another time.
Hey, Sophie, I just want I really appreciate your time. And
No problem.
Ian
You're
told
welcome.
me we
Nice
can't
talking.
talk it today, but Ian told me exactly how you met him and how when you first called him on the phone. I know that whole story, and it's very special and very touching. And you're a very special person. You're a very special person, Sophie. And I think you already know that, but I just want to let you know.
Very much.
And Ian,
Thank you very much.
Ian, Lord Hugh, he absolutely loved you as much as you loved him.
No, we really had a lot of love and tenderness for each other, affection, like a friend that like those really good pals that you have when you're a teenager.
Yep.
And that you've been doing all sorts of, you'd do anything with them. That was the relationship. And that's what I found out when I met him. I said, okay, he's from my gang, he's in my gang, that guy.
Yeah,
he's a pal. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay.
Okay, I got to go, but thank you so much.
Have a lovely day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
desert.